Time for race 3, Senior Rotax, Heat 2, Groups B and C. Here is your starting order. It's Tommy van der Stroys, junior vice champion from last year, and last year's junior champion from Europe, Ethan Jeff Hall. So Tommy van der Stroys and Ethan Jeff Hall on the front row. Miska Kaskinen and Kai Hilats on row number 2. Petra Babičková, Zomber Kovac, row 3. Mark Kimber back in seniors for the first time in a while after his DD2 escapades last year. He's on the inside of row number 4 alongside Colin Vajny, with the returning Rafael Renhofer and Devian Rost rounding out the top 10. Christophe Sala, Anya Levar, Lawrence Herbos, Dion van Verven, Mitch Haynert, Arthur Robin, Jamie Perilli, Kaz Boshaus, Martin Gaiskens and Croatia's Leon Zelenko rounds out the top 20. Tom Vuol, Rafael Jesus, Paul Hamburg, Brandon Klein Nagelvoort. Then we've got Zach Scowler, Andrea Kostic, Loris Koisman, Nicky Gauci, the sole Maltese representative, followed by Jules Roussel from France, and from Lebanon, Stephanie Hobeika. So the red light's on the starting gantry, 10 minutes plus an additional lap. And the lights go out. We are underway and racing. A good start by Tommy van der Stroys with Miska Kaskinen from Finland following in behind, along with Kai Hilets. Ethan Jeff Hall left out, a little bit hung out to dry. He uses the runoff area, but what a move from Kai Hilets around the outside of him to get up into P3 through the opening couple of corners. Zomber Kovac also has made his way up into 5th position, 3 wide, a little bit of clumsiness at the back end of the field, going over the curves through into turn 6. And down the back straightaway, it's getting a bit close for comfort through turn number 7. Some drivers are 2 wide. 3 wide never goes into that corner. We have seen it on multiple occasions. At the moment, van der Stroys leads the way. Kaskinen 2nd, Hilets 3rd, 4th Jeff Hall, 5th Kovac. And then it is the 3:02 of Mark Kimber out of the final corner to complete the opening lap. Van der Stroys has a 2-kart length lead over Miska Kaskinen from Finland, as Ethan Jeff Hall has to defend against Zomber Kovac for 4th place going through into turns 1 and 2. Mark Kimber 6th, Colin Vajny, Devian Rost, Petra Babičková and Belgium's Lawrence Herbos round out the top 10 at this particular moment in time. Christophe Sala has dropped to 19th. Mitch Haynert down to 21st. Martin Gaiskens now rounds out the top 24. As the leaders making their way through turn 8, now into the left-hand hairpin at the top part of the circuit through turn 9. Adjusting the radiator flaps on the right-hand side of the cart foot to give the engine as much air as possible. That's Miska Kaskinen. So everyone made it through the opening lap. Overtake has occurred, and that was Lawrence Herbos on Petra Babičková for 9th coming out of the final corner. Kaskinen trying to attack van der Stroys for the race lead, but Hilets is just biding his time and waiting. He's closing in on the fin in front in the 385. Through into turn number 5 they go, now into 6. As always, classic Hilets right there through turn 6. Nice and cleanly done. Kovac now ahead of Ethan Jeff Hall up into what is now 4th position. And will now look to try and get through on Miska Kaskinen for third place. Mark Kimber. Oh, and there has been a change because Kaskinen got back up the inside of Hillertz. And now they're starting to fight. Oh, a little bit jerky on the braking was Miska Kaskinen. Zomborkovac did get through. Kimber's now up into fourth position. Now it's going to change again because he's got through on Ethan Jeff Hall. So you've got the young upstart in the 397 of Ethan Jeff Hall, and then you've got the very, very experienced three-time Grand Finals champion, the only driver to win three categories in three respective Grand Finals as a junior in 2016, as a senior in 2021, and then did the treble with DD2 last year in November at Portimao. That driver is Mark Kimber. Both he and Callum Bradshaw these days. Good to see Callum in the paddock, dealing as doing work as a driver coach with quite a few drivers in the paddock. 6 minutes and 30 seconds on the timer remains. And at the moment, Van der Stroys has got a lead. It was nearly 9/10 after 3 laps. And now ascend up the inside. That was on Miska Kaskinen, that was Devian Ross, that was for 6th place. Oh dear, now someone has gone into the barriers off of turn number 10. I'm wondering, that is Nicky Gauci from Malta, unfortunately. Has ended up pointing the wrong way. As Petra Babičková gets through on Lawrence Herboz, and there is also Colin Ważny, the young Polish driver, based these days out of Bristol in the United Kingdom. He's got through on Herboz, I think. Van der Stroys' lead after 4 laps, 0.8 of a second. Lawrence Herboz has the fastest lap of the race, 54.937. A lot of trains forming up and down the grid, but it is about survival. It is about making sure you get through to the next stage of the competition. So at the front of the field, it's Tommy van der Stroys leading by 0.7 of a second ahead of Hungary's Zomborkovac. Mark Kimber in 3rd, Ethan Jeff Hall 4th, Kai Hillertz 5th place. 6th, it's Devian Horst from the Netherlands. And then Miska Kaskinen from Finland, Petra Babičková running a little bit on her own. Herboz and Ważny side by side going down from turn 9 into turn 10. And Ważny's lost out big time. He's lost out to Arthur Robin and Rafael Renhofer in the process. Okay, they went side by side coming out of turn number 9 and through turn 10. Well, Ważny was on the got the wrong end of the stick there, I'm afraid. Well, there's an absolute swarm and a half a little bit further down the back of the field. Looks like Loris Koisman involved in that, so that's probably for the battle of the bottom part of the top 20. As now we see quite a few drivers jockeying for position. It was nearly a sandwiched Colin Ważny in the middle of a 3-wide exchange going through into turn number 7. And still it's nearly 3 wide. Someone's going to really come a cropper in a moment. Arthur Robin has to take avoiding action using the runoff area out of turn number 10. I think might have had a little bit of a touch. That would have been with one of the drivers. So you can just see how fast-paced it is in senior Rotax, and that continues. Just under 3.5 minutes still to go. Tommy van der Stroys now has over an 0.8 of a second advantage, but there has been a change for 2nd, 3rd and 4th because Kovac has dropped to 4th. Kimber now 2nd. Ethan Jeff Hall in 3rd place. Hillertz still holding station in 5th ahead of Devian Horst. Miska Kaskinen not too far behind the 345 from the Netherlands, as there's a little bit of an exchange, and there was a CRG chassis having a little bit of an assist, pushing them a little bit off the racing line going through into turn number 7. So Mitch Haynett looking to come back from a little bit of a difficult start to his weekend in the heats. So Loris Koisman still battling away. That is with the 373 of Talvar Racing's Paul Hamburg from Estonia. Koisman is in 21st position, back to the front end of the field. And the top 7 are covered by, or were covered by, just under 2.3 seconds. Just over 2 minutes remaining on the timer, plus an additional lap. But Van der Stroys has kept the racing blinkers on. He's kept on focusing ahead and not looking at what's been going on behind. Probably the fact he might look at it through his peripheral vision, but then when you have someone like Mark Kimber closing in on you, Kimber not only took the Grand Finals title last year, he also did the double in the BNL and the Euro Trophy in the same season. So Van der Stroys did have a lead of around about 0.8 of a second at one point. Kai Gilets has just put in the fastest lap of the race, 54.561 seconds. So again, it's getting a bit close for comfort between Devinhorst and Miska Kaskinen. That is for 6th position. Now there are 8 drivers in a line, rounded out by the Czech Republic's Petra Babičková. Younger brother Denny Babicek will be in action in the next heat. 50 seconds on the timer. That gap is coming down between first and second. It's now under half a second. Kim has just put in a 54.683. Van der Stroys a 54.840. So still everything at the sharper end of the field. From the leader back to 8th is closing in. The top 8 were covered by 2.2 seconds on that previous lap. And again, Miska Kaskinen trying to get past on Devinhorst to get up into 6th position. It's going to be close down to the wire. I think we're going to have the last lap board out this time. 2, 1, time has expired. Last lap board now first being seen by Tommy Van der Stroys. And that gap might be halved again. Mark Kimber is on an absolute flyer at the moment, 3.5 tenths. And he was over 0.135 of a second quicker than Van der Stroys, and now is starting to really close in on the young Dutchman from The Hague in the Netherlands. Down the back straightaway for what is going to be the final time. Deeper on the brakes goes Mark Kimber in comparison with Van der Stroys. He obviously can feel the fact that Mark Kimber is not that far behind him, but after this there's just 3 corners remaining. Van der Stroys now looks over his right shoulder, sees that Kimber is there. Through turn 10 at Cafe Corner. Now into the left at 11. 1 more corner remains. What can Mark Kimber do? Is he going to put the frighteners on Van der Stroys? He's going to swing wide into the final corner. Out of the final turn. 1 heat win to Kai Hunter. 1 heat win to Tommy Van der Stroys from the Netherlands. Mark Kimber got to within 0.2 of a second of the Dutchman at the end of 12 laps of racing. Ethan Jeff Hall, Zombar Kovac and Kai Gilets round out the top 5 positions. Devinhorst, Miska Kaskinen, Petra Babičková, Lawrence Herbos and Poland's Colin Ważny round out the top 10. Arthur Robin, Rafael Renhofer, Leon Zelenko, Mitch Haynett and Brandon Klein-Nagelvoort round out the top 15. Kaz Boshaus, Martin Geiskens, Rafael Jesus, Zach Scowler and Dion van Werven complete the top 20. Paul Hamburg, Anja Levar, Andrea Kostic, Stephanie Hobeka, Tom Vuol, Loris Koisman, Christoph Sala and Nicky Gauci rounding out the 28 that finished all 12 laps of racing. On lap 4, we lost Strawberry Racing's Jamie Pirilli and Jules Roussel on the 3:08 entry, retired after 3 laps. So once again, we geared up for another senior Rotax repeat, our second out of 10, as the mechanics will be on the gantry, just giving their respective advices. The drivers would go into the tram lines. We would get the lights going out on the first time, and it was Van der Stroys that led the way as the field spread out, 2 to 3 wide in the mid-pack as they went through into turns 1 and 2. Several drivers making good of the opportunity, including Kai Hilets and Miska Kaskinen. Hilets with a very good move up around the outside of Ethan Jeff Hall through turn 4 on the opening lap. Things would start to develop as Hilets would go up the inside through turn 6 on Dan Holland Racing's Miska Kaskinen rather easily, and both gave each other enough racing room and respect for that to happen. Kaskinen would then force the issue through turn 9, allowing Zsombor Kovac to get 2 places for the price of 1. And also the likes of Ethan Jeff Hall, amongst others, were getting through. So did Mark Kimber as he made up places on Ethan Jeff Hall and Kai Hilets through into turn number 10. And then Devian Voss would start battling away with Kaskinen throughout the latter part of the race. A moment for Nicky Gauci from Malta, ending up backwards the wrong way and into the foam barriers off turn number 10, promptly bringing out a yellow flag. Arthur Robin was also in the trenches, along with a certain, I think it might have been, well, it was one of the CRG drivers. It might have been Dion van Verven, the 377. More battling again with Van Verven involved, and he said that I spoke to him earlier, he said, my race suit is about quite a bit heavier, and I said, with all that stitch embroidery with the sponsors you've got. But then Van der Stroys will come out of the final corner, take the checkered flag, so he picks up a heat win, along with Kai Hunter. Kimber just 2 tenths away in second. The likes of Ethan Jeff Hall, Zsombor Kovac, and Kai